Democrats aiming for a Senate seat. Texas hasn't flipped in decades. I'm Allison Hill reporting in Waco. Why tonight's turnout could signal a shift in our state's politics.
Election season is officially underway. I'm Stephanie Liebergen, and coming up, a look at the top races that could be drawing record primary turnout in Texas.
Take a look at your screen. We've got more reporters in more neighborhoods. There are experts on election in your communities tonight. We'll hear from them live as they break down the races and bring us the results later tonight. Good evening, and thank you for joining us for 25 News at 6. I'm senior neighborhood reporter Charles Molyneux. It is primary election day in Texas. As voters head out to the polls, Texas Democrats are hoping to pull off a high-stakes upset. Allison Hill has the story.
I'm Allison Hill reporting in Waco. This election day, Democrats are chasing something Texas hasn't seen in nearly 30 years, a U.S. Senate win. And tonight's turnout could show whether voters think a change is possible. The stakes are high for Democrats in a deep red state.
Well, this is a historic day for Democrats across Texas.
My hope and prayer is that we turn Texas blue.
On Election Day, Texas voters are deciding who will represent the left in a race for U.S. Senate in a state that hasn't elected a Democrat to a statewide office in more than 3 decades.
It's exciting for democracy and democracy pushing forward, and I'm really thankful to be in a place where I have the freedom to be able to vote.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett stopping in Waco Tuesday, meeting voters at the polls as she seeks the nomination.
Everyone's watching because this seat matters just that much, not just to Texas, but the entire country. Democrats have outvoted Republicans. That is something that has not been seen in a long time. We have been trying to tell people for the longest that Texas can do it, but we weren't showing them. And now it looks like, well, wait, maybe it is something different.
Meanwhile, other candidates in the race spent the day campaigning in different parts of the state. And as polls close, the focus won't just be on who wins, but on what the numbers may signal about Texas's political direction.
I wish we could all come together with more love, compassion, understanding, so we can get this country right back on track again.
On our website, kxxv.com, you can find our complete Central Texas voter guide and election results as the numbers begin to roll in. Reporting in Waco, I'm Allison Hill.
Voters are picking their candidates in a long list of high-stakes races. There's the race for U.S. Senate, as well as governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and more. Congressional, legislative, and judicial seats are also on the ballot. Texas is an open primary state, so voters can vote in either the Republican or Democratic primary without having to be specifically registered with that party. Even before the polls opened today, the state already saw a high early voter turnout. According to the nonpartisan research organization Vote Hub, more than 1.5 million Democrats voted early in the 2026 primaries. That's up by more than 500,000 from the party's entire midterm election 4 years ago. Republicans also cast significantly more early ballots than in 2022, with 1.3 million early votes.
I'm senior neighborhood reporter Bobby Portavant, and I'm live here in Killeen, just outside of the Senior Center. Now, it's been one of the more popular places for people to cast their ballot during the primaries happening today. People are still coming out in swarms. People are still trying to find parking spaces in this full parking lot. We'll have more on election numbers coming up later on this newscast. But first, let's go ahead and talk about one of the bigger races going on across Central Texas right now, and that is the race for Texas Senate District 5. Now, if we go ahead and get that graphic pulled up, we can take a look at the incumbent that's on the ballot right now. That's Charles Schwartzner. He is the Republican on the ballot. He's actually been in this seat since 2013, so he has a few election wins under his belt. Now, before that, he was part of the House of Representatives. He is the incumbent right now. He goes up against another Republican on the ballot. That's Larry Nance and also Apollo Hernandez. Now, if we can move on over to that Democratic graphic, there's 2 challengers on there. We're looking at Kevin Nelson and also Paul Thomason. Now, there are 5 candidates on this ballot. None of the election results have come out just yet from the Secretary of State's office. We'll be taking a look at them over once the polls start closing up at 7 o'clock. So you still have about an hour to get out to polls, but I'll see you later on as I continue to discuss more of the bigger races here in Central Texas. Reporting live in Killeen, I'm senior neighborhood reporter Bobby Portavant.
To stay up to date on election coverage, be sure to head to our website, kxxv.com, where we'll be updating election numbers as they are released, along with live on 25 News later at 6 and 10. Texas couldn't have had nicer weather for everyone to get out to the polls today. The good news is that's not going to last. And yes, that's good news. Chief Meteorologist Matt Hines has a look at a big change that we really need, don't we?
Yeah, we can see some rain chances, especially as we head toward the weekend. But today, we saw a record high here in central Texas, 87 degrees. We shot up as the clouds broke across the region. 83 was the old record from 1974, so we shattered that record for today. It probably will be a little cooler tomorrow as more clouds will be in the region. Temperatures made it into the 80s pretty much across the entire state. It was in the 90s down toward Laredo, though, at 93 degrees. And there was a cold front bisecting the Texas panhandle with 60s to 80s from about Perryton, Texas to 80 in Amarillo. So definitely a warm one for most of the state. And outside right now, those clouds are starting to fill back in. Temperatures are hanging out into the 80s for us. Winds around the south and southeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. And that is off the Gulf of Mexico. The gasoline we need for showers and thunderstorms starting to build here as dew points are climbing into the 50s and 60s. We may have a couple of thunderstorms tomorrow. Best chances, though, over the weekend. I'll have that forecast coming up.
Thanks, Matt. Getting back to the elections, we have coverage all over Central Texas today. We're looking at voting locations and those watch parties. Let's send it over to our reporters out in our neighborhoods. Mariah Williams is in Waco. Mariah, how's that been going?
Hi, thank you. Yes, I'm out here reporting live in Bell County at the Killeen Senior Center. And as you can see behind me, neighbors have been showing out at the polls today. This was actually one of two of the busiest locations here in the county. And combined with those two locations, more than 1,000 voters have showed out. Now let's take a look at some of the races that are going on in the county. So first, let's start with the district clerk's race between Republican candidates Lacey Martindale and Pam Blair. They are both Republican candidates. Then we have the county judge race, which pits incumbent David Blackburn, who has held his position since 2019, against his challenger Theodore Duffield. He has judicial experience as a justice of the peace for the county. In both of these races, there is no Democratic opposition, which means tonight's winner will win the seat. So far, more than 13,000 residents have casted their ballot, and if you haven't had time, don't worry, you can still come out. As long as you're in line by 7 p.m., you can still vote. In Bell County, I'm Mariah Williams. I'll send it over to Ezekiel Ramirez in Brazos County.
I haven't heard anything. Yeah, thanks, Mariah. I'm standing outside the Election Administration building in Bryan, where neighbors are casting last-minute votes. There are a lot of races happening here in our county, but one of the biggest ones is for the county judge seat. Two Republican candidates are battling it out for the top spot, Kyle Cassell and Mike Southerland. With no Democrat on the ballot, this primary election will likely decide who takes the bench. Both candidates say they're qualified for the job, and in fact, Cassell is already doing the job. He was the acting Brazos County judge for 6 months and former state rep, while Southerland is an Army veteran and former Bryan City Council member. So both men have strong ties with our community. Polls will be open until 7 for any last-minute voters. And as I mentioned, I'm going to be following this race and other races in our county. That's all for me at the moment. Well, let's check in with some of our other reporters. Our Dominique Lay is in McLennan County. Dominique?
Thanks, Zeke. Yes, I'm Dominique Lay reporting live in Waco. I'm at First Assembly of God Church here on Bosque and Cobbs. Now, the line has only grown. I'm going to show you right now I'm going to step behind the camera and show you this line has grown just in the past 30 minutes. We're looking at all these people right here in line. In the past 30 minutes, it's grown. You have less than an hour to cast your ballot, Central Texas. Now, some of the candidates that these people are going to be voting on are going to to be in McLennan County Commissioner Precinct 2, Democrat Jeremy Davis and Travis Gibson, and Republican Donis L. Wilson. Now, I had the opportunity to speak with all three candidates yesterday and ask them what their plan is for the county budget. Here's what they had.
Yeah, so your spending should be attached to needs in our community. So for me, our budget priorities, again, are putting people first.
I want to take that money and invest back into our community. I want to partner with our local nonprofit organizations, our local business, small business owners.
I'm a conservative, so I want to make sure we spend the money conservative. We have a little pile of money right now that they've saved through the years. We need to keep sure that pile of money is still there.
Another race that we're watching, Justice of the Peace Precinct 1, Place 2, where we'll have three Republican candidates, Will Hudson, Aubrey Robertson III, and incumbent Gary Durham. Again, you have less than 1 hour to come out here and vote. Coming up a little bit later in the 6th, we're going to hear from Justice of the Peace Precinct 1, Place 2, and we're also going to hear from the district clerk candidates. Reporting live in Waco, I'm Dominique Lay.
I'm Alexa Conroy reporting in your neighborhood of Waco. I'm here at First Assembly God's Church where lines are already out the door at the polls. But there's one thing you need to grab before you leave the house today, and that is a photo ID. Election day can move fast, especially during the morning rush. And McLennan County Election Administrator tells me the smoothest way to keep lines moving is to show up prepared.
Of course, you will need to bring one of the 7 acceptable forms of ID. Most people use a Texas driver's license.
Texas has a list of acceptable identification options for voting on texasvotes.org. And before you leave your house, remember to bring one of these 7 acceptable forms of identification, including passport, ID, and even Texas handgun license issued by DPS. Election administrators tell me if you have more questions, you can look on your county's website. Reporting your neighborhood of Waco, Alexa Conroy.
Looking at some other races in Bell County, 2 candidates are facing off for the seat of county judge. Incumbent David Blackburn is up against Ted Duffield. They're both on the Republican ballot. The judges are a county's chief executive. They oversee Commissioner's Court, which handles roads, sets county budgets, tax rates, and manage infrastructure. 2 new faces are hoping to become the next judge of Falls County. Current county judge Jay Elliott is on the Republican side of the ballot. Andres de la Garza and Byron Reidler are Democrats facing off to challenge the Republicans' seat.
Final road trip. I'm Shaw Jam reporting in your neighborhood of Waco. I'll show how Baylor men's basketball is getting ready for their away game against number 7 Houston.
We may see a couple of thunderstorms as we make our way into Wednesday, but better rain chances could arrive this weekend. I'll have the latest coming up.